I'm super excited to welcome Sabari to FOMO. So Sabari is the creator of SpaceGAN, which is one of the top explorers in Chia. It's also recently launched a new product, xch.live. Uh, really excited to have you here today. Sabari, I don't know if you just want to maybe give us a little quick brief introduction. And to start things off, I really want to talk about, surprisingly, not Chia, but Burstcoin. So we'll start there in a second. But yeah, just give us a little intro and then we'll start talking about the early days of Chia.
Hey, Grant. Hey, Lucas and Rusty. Thanks for having me here. And so, I'm Sabari. I've been in developing softwares around 17 years. Um, so I started as a normal developer and started working on it. And mostly, like nowadays, I work on full stack, anything related to cloud and AI. That's where mostly I work in my 9 to 5 job. And on the blockchain side, I started with Burst around, I think, 2016, 17. Around that timeline is where I started. And then once GI is available, I moved with a lot of folks from Burst to Chia. Yeah, that's about me on the technical side. And other than that, I love to travel and kind of like consider myself a digital nomad. So I'll move on to a country for every 3 years. I've been doing this for past 12 years. Every 3 years, I'll be in one country. So currently, I'm in a country in the north side of North America. Yeah, that's about me. Yeah.
So when you got involved with Burstcoin, so Burst was a different type of proof of capacity coin. So I don't know a ton about Burst because I was never involved in that community. But what I know about Burst is that there were people who were involved in that coin, and I think it became known that you could actually grind this, and that the proof of capacity, the way that they were using hard drives was essentially spoofable, or that it wasn't safe. And so the people who were there doing that started to get wind of Chia, and there was somewhat of a mass exodus as people converted their hard drives from doing Burst into doing Chia. Does that sound right? Can you help us understand a
Yep.
little bit about what that early days were like in Chia when there people were migrating out of Burst?
Yeah, true. So Burst is like nobody has like a central, or nobody knows who is the creator of a Burst. So Burst is out there in GitHub, and a lot of teams trying to own this or guide that. But then there were like infighting between the teams on the direction on how it needs to go, or and who needs to own certain thing of it. So that's what it happened at the time, and I was part of a team who built explorers and the Android app at the time. And so it's kind of like power struggle. It happened on the Burst, and nobody has answer of how first of all, the Burst communities did not accept that it is grindable for quite some time. But we could see certain capacities increasing in certain portions of it. It's getting more rewards, and that's how we know it is grindable. But still, we kept it under the rug and running it for quite some time, because nobody's there with with a capacity to prove that it is grindable. We know that it is happening in small pocket. There is a different coins also, like a dual farming or mining. So we know the issues are there, but nobody's there or dare to come and question those different leaders at the time in the different factions. We have it in Burst. And then at the time where Bram come into picture, and he posted in different groups or the areas where bus community is there, that he genuinely said, guys, it's grindable, and I can prove that it is grindable, and it is a shit coin.
And
But
so you've got this Burst coin that's proof of capacity hard drives. People are doing it, but you see small little areas of the ecosystem where space is increasing at a rate that it really shouldn't be increasing. And that sounds a lot like what happened in Chia, honestly, right? We suddenly have compression come in. We have people jump in and say, no, this is grindable. We figured out how to do this and we're using GPUs. And the first response is it's not grindable, it's not compressible, we've already figured that out. And then slowly the community had to unwind that, unpack it, find out that there was grind potential within
Mhm.
Chia, and now we're getting a new plot format. So does it feel like history is repeating in some ways in Burst, but the difference here is that CNI exists and there's a
Yes,
company devoted
that's
to keeping this at bay.
yes, exactly. That's a big thing here. Why I love Chia is that there is a stewardship here. Like there is a entity which is cares about that. And so from the proof of capacity side, we know it's always going to be a fight or struggle. Of it's going to be continuous fight, not only now, in even in the future it will be there. But in burst, nobody cares for it other than how to get the coins into their pocket. So that same times east side of the world, somebody figured out how to fake that capacity, and then there are like dual farming happened. There is a BHT coin, some similar to that. So that is the group which is started on that, and nobody cares, and that's how it's fade. But it's the same thing. I see it now. But the main thing here is like there is an entity here who cares about it and who works on the solution, and they have the capacity to do that.
So were you actually mining on Burst? Did you have hard
Yeah.
drives set up? Yeah.
Yeah. So that hard drive still runs. Now it runs Chia.
So that's what happened is like this was a community that when they started seeing that there was a better blockchain that was using hard drives, people started dumping their Burst. Did they call them plots? Like what did they call the file format in
I,
Burst? They
I something similar, but I forgot it. I have to see that.
Okay. So
Yeah,
they had a
but
similar
it's
type of thing. You had to fill your hard drive up with
yeah, same
something.
thing. Like how we
Yeah.
have like in Chia now, it's same things. Like we have a plotter. Yeah, I remember we had like a plotter, different type of plotter comes there, and we plots the same way how we do it here, and we fill that hard drive with that nonsense. So that part is same. I don't see much difference, but under the hood, that definitely um, the way it's currently done in Chia might be different. But I'm not that technical savvy to know how exactly the plotters works and everything. I'm mostly on the app dev and the infra side. That's that level of knowledge what I have.
So, and you said you did an Explorer in Burst, and so was
Yeah,
that your first time when you ever tried making an Explorer, and was it that particular
yeah.
experiences that you had that led you to saying, "Well, I should make an Explorer in Chia"?
Yeah. So I like to build stuff, especially anything related to analytics or anything related to web, and so there were and there were like a lot of folks happens in burst. Everybody tried to take that into different directions, and so it's very passionate or very interest to see the blockchain visually because until then like we have so much interest to learn blockchain, but I'm like to see the blockchain. I'm like I don't like to imagine a blockchain. There is some blockchain is happening, every block is running, and but I wanted to see in live how the blocks moves. So that's the first effort I built it there, and I have seen how chains moves and all the visuals and all. I really liked it. So that's where I started it, and then they were asking for some app dev. Like then I did some Android wallet development at the time for the bus, and then yeah, that's about the mostly on the bus side. And then when the Chia started, I think Freddie had like very good explorer, but then after some times I think because of the tech stack, I think it was like mongodb in aws, it had some difficulty in syncing it, and he said like he's going to stop it. And that's where like I started spacecan and started building at the time, and that's how spacecan come into picture because I saw how potential and chia has, but the tooling wise it's far behind like ethereum, because every time we say like we are far better than bitcoin, far better than ethereum, but when we see a tooling like a basic as explorer where we can visualize the blockchain and visualize the assets in the blockchain, we are far below like the etherscan. We don't have any solution which loads as fast or provides or as stable as etherscan, right? There are a lot of good developers in here built like xch or all the blocks. They have done tremendously good effort, but I wanted to see something on or above etherscan. Then
That
from the
that that
area,
definitely that definitely resonated with me as well because I remember when I first came into the Chia ecosystem, I was coming from Ethereum, developing within that environment, and I remember the first thing that I reached for was something in the order of truffle and ganache because I was used to having these tools, simulators and stuff to be able to help develop what I wanted to do with smart contract programming inside of Chia. So the first thing that I reached for was the simulator, and I said, okay, well, where's the simulator on Chia? And there was one, but it was buried down deep in the guts of the Python code, and it
Mm.
wasn't easy to run the tests. And so it was the first thing that we tried to do was to try to get access to that, and we couldn't get it working. And that's when I first reached out to the CNI team and started having discussions about, well, how do I actually get this simulator working and building a Docker container so that it could be more easily run? So yeah, I agree. The tooling and the explorers, that stuff was nascent at the time when Chia was first getting started. So I definitely resonates with me. Your experiences that there was stuff that just felt like it wasn't quite there at the beginning in Chia.
Yeah, true. Because I care about like Chia and what it brings to the whole blockchain or in this ecosystem, because that's where I care about like how blockchain impacts the energy, how it consumes it. So that's why even we went with the capacity coin first. When I wanted to explore something on a blockchain, why I chose like a proof of capacity coin is because of that reason. I don't want to go and do it in Ethereum or another chains where it burns at the time so much of capacity, energy. So that's why we chose it. And still, I believe Chia has tremendous potential. But if you want to bring that to a layman or a normal developer like me, like anywhere like a full stack developer who comes from a different chain, they need this tooling and they need to see this tooling on level with existing tool sets. They don't care about like how good Chia is. Most 90 percentage of the like developer who comes from a different chains or Solana, or they first see where is the tooling, where I can see the transaction, where I can build it. So that's the easy to. So there is a struggle. There is a thing which we can work on. So that's what we worked on it, and I see a lot of toolings are coming up now. Like we have a bridges and we have swaps and we have developer tool sets, and the wallets are improved a lot. But it took this much time, right? So yeah,
Of coins and whatnot, I was reminded of the fact that Icer Design, Glacier Wizard, the guy that has been developing in the Pocket ecosystem, had these
mm,
visualization tools, and he recently had an update where he said, "Hey, there's some new stuff." I was excited to see him developing in Chia again because I thought they had put that behind, because of the flap that happened between Bram and I think it was his wife,
mm,
Haya or whatever.
yeah,
They kind of got into an online argument, and it sounded like Pocket was going to stop developing. So I'm excited to see him doing stuff again. But there's some
yeah.
cool visualization tools for developers here.
Yeah, I'm very happy like more developers coming back, like, but for in my vision it's like if I don't get into anything, if I get into it, at least I'll keep it 5 to 10 years. So even Chia, that's why like we continuously develop. We do have a lot of differences and we do have a lot of ups and downs with different teams involved here, like even with Chia also sometimes, but we never wanted to stop building because how much potential Chia has. And now I'm very happy that more developers are coming back, and these developers are hard to get, right? You cannot buy them. These developers, they spend day and night outside of their 9 to 5 with their own interest and passion, and they build it. You cannot buy them. So it's if they are coming back again, it's very good sign, and it's good for you.
So speaking of stuff that you've been working on, I know that you recently launched a new site, xch.live. So, and this one you developed it in a slightly different way. So, we were actually talking with Acevale on Wednesday, and he was mentioning that he had been playing around with Cursor, and he felt like
Mm.
there was some productivity gains, and he had worked a little bit with Claude. And so you've built quite a bit of xch.live using AI
Yeah.
style developer assisted tooling. Which one are you using? And tell us a little bit about what your experience has been
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So like past 1 to 1.5 years, I in my professional capacity, like I've been fine tuning models for my clients. So we work heavily on that side. And then when like I had like few weeks off in my hand like this time, so I wanted to push this limit on Code Companion side. How much we can build a stuff without a team involved, just a pure AI. So I've been playing with a lot of different tools like Amazon Q, Copilot, and the Cursor. So Cursor is good. Cursor with Claude, it's super good because of the the way they have like MCP built in, so it can able to have a little bit of awareness of multi-file context awareness. It has it, so it's easy to work and it can continue the thoughts. And we have to work around a certain area where we can keep that context of our whole stack for it. So I worked on the way how do we do it. So now that ironed out, I wanted to push that limit and build a product 100% or fully AI. So this xch.live, including that logo, everything is done by AI. Cursor.ai done everything. I just asked it to do it, and it worked completely on the full server side and the client side. Everything it even I don't want to involve my designers, QA, or developers. It's everything is done by AI. Here and there I have to tell like what it needs to do it, but even for a dot I don't want to go and do it. I said like, okay, remove this dot even if it's a translation. That's how it is. So and even for this translations, theming, everything it does. That's why like this whole set, it's little off on the design side. My designer, my product designer, he didn't like the design, but I said, imagine like this is done by completely machine. It can understand the contrast and the way it works, and it can even understand how human interacts with the buttons and give a colors. So it's fascinating. So I just wanted to throw it as it is, and that's how xh.live is built.
So this is an experiment. It's something you were building with AI as your own personal project for how you could get somewhere with it. Do you think that this has a big part of what you're going to be doing in the future, or was it an experiment and it was intended that you would create something, see how far you could take it, and then
Mhm.
what's in the future? I guess is
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at.
So now it's totally changed. Like now all my team members have a cursor license, and I told them not to code. They should not code. They should ask. So that's how my team's changed now. So even a lot of functionalities what we seeing in space can, the team is building it, they are just prompting it. They are not building it anymore. I told them definitely not to do it because the time it saves and the quality of the solution it gives, I cannot get it with my developers time. So they have to spend, for example, like if this xh.live, if I wanted to build, it would definitely take anywhere nearly a month to completely done all the AWS setup and serverless coding, Lambda, API gateway, all the UI and everything. But it's done in 2 to 3 days. So I cannot expect any more developer to put in or hard code this. And even my developers started loving it. They wanted to go with Cursor and they wanted to work with the AI only. So that's where it's changing. And now earlier, even now I already started having one more idea, and I started thinking of that idea. Hopefully by this week end or next week mid we will have that live. That's also related to Chia and related to tokens and payments. So now from idea to a product, it takes me just a week. So now I can build more products and we can give it to community and get a feedback and see which one stick and which ones really helps the community and which will really have a user base or real usability for the users. If not, I can just bring it down. Earlier, the cost of trying or bringing an idea to a product, it's so costly, time consuming. So the number of ideas we even wanted to try will be less. But now I already have like two ideas ready to go. xch.live and another one, I'm just going to register before this call. So that maybe after maybe a few days I can even bring that product, I can talk through that. So that's what the change with this one. So the quick conversion from idea to product is there. So even if it is not that perfect or beautiful, but we can try out different products quickly and bring it to community and other users, they can try it, and we can really get whether it is real tool or it's just like an idea which needs to be closed down quickly. That's the change I see.
So do you view 2025 and 2026 as kind of this is when developers will sort of really separate out those who are using AI and have enhanced productivity who can just
Mhm.
really ship a lot of product and those who are still doing things in the old way, and they're going to ship product, but they're going to ship more slowly. So is this the
Mm,
separation that you're starting to see? Is
I
just
don't.
things?
So in next 2 years, there won't be any competition. So not even 2 years, next year, because it's the speed I see. It's so huge. Even in the enterprise, we kind of ram down like 15-member teams, right? Because that the the quality it produces and the time it saves, we cannot compare it. Still, there will be a developers who goes and do a niche areas like chialisp. So we need chialisp developers and who knows chialisp, how everything works on it. But even if enough we train on enough puzzles or enough contracts on with that, we don't need, I would say, like, we don't need Yak or Aceville to go and build it. So it can build it, they can review it. So the number of solution it's going to come or product going to come out will be much more. So I'm not going to be seeing any competition between who uses a AI, not uses a AI. So it's going to be everybody's going to use AI. Very few who's going to work on a very niche area where it's have high domain or restricted knowledge base, which is not there with the LLMs or fine-tuned models. Only those areas will be there. Yeah.
So something that would easily come to mind like that would be when Chia said, "Hey, we've got a problem with grinding plots and we need a new plot format." It's not like you're going to go to an LLM and say,
Yes.
"Cook me up a new plot format that's ungrindable.
Yes.
Go code it." That's not going to happen. So I think our expectations on AI is when you have something that's routine, that there's a lot of training data, that there is a large body of work of examples that's already been done. If you need something similar, like I need a website and I need two buttons on it and the button should do this, that kind of stuff, the AI code is just going to rip out. But if we say something like, create me a full node for Chia in Go, do it. It's this is not the kind of thing it's going to be able to just rip out.
It I would say like it can on like on the use case what you said, like create me a full node of for Chia and Go. It can definitely do, because it can go through all the Python implementations and the Rust implementations, other things, and it can easily write it. Because if there is a similarity, even if it is in a different language, it can do it with at least a one reference implementations. It can definitely do it.
Well, wait a minute now. Like that's a big code base. So you think you could take the entire Python code base that is the Chia full node? I mean, that we're talking a pretty substantive thing.
I
I
in
guess
my
I'm not 100% familiar with this, but like it can ingest that size of a code base and then just spit it out and go.
Yeah, so yeah, yes, and yeah, it can do, but it's not the existing ones what we have. So we kind of like train nearly like 2 million lines of codes of applications. That's what I deal with in my day to day. So it's we have to fine tune it, we have to train it, and it's slightly not out there in the cursor or copilot, but you can definitely do it. And more it evolves, more it gets cheaper, it will come to the normal users. So earlier when we started a year before, we these cursor and other models, you have to give up one single file. It knows one single file. Now it knows a project, where a project has thousands of lines of code, or thousands of lines of code, or maybe 100 files. It can understand it. The context is widening, right? I hear like Gemini is recently bring a bigger context. It can inject a bigger context. So it's going to be gradually increasing it, but I'm not saying even a year. It's in this year itself, this month, few months, I would say the context scope, it can increase it, and it can definitely do it. So as we said, like all the full stack development, like this xh.live, it's done in React.js, which I don't have much exposure, right? But to challenge it, I said like, okay, build it in React, and this is the component I want. It went and built it, so I don't need a web developer anymore. And the backend also, I just did like AWS Lambda, all the DynamoDB stack, right? I just asked it, okay, I want completely serverless. I don't want any serverless because it's a cloud wallet monitoring. I don't want to have any containers. I want purely serverless. It went and built. I even during the review, how to correct very small portions here and there, right? So all these items will be easily gone. And like writing a plot format, create or bring a new solution which is not there, and there is no similar solution out there. that is where it is still going to be humans. If we have any similar solution for a problem, even in a different language or a different parameter, it is accessible for the model and it can train on it, it can definitely do a better job on the time and the cost of rewriting by the human.
So if we go back to Space Scan for a second, I know that you guys recently had like a big community spotlight on Space Scan.
Mhm.
The future for what has canonically been a blockchain explorer, you're expanding the scope somewhat, right? I mean, you guys are getting
Mhm.
into somewhat different areas. Do you view that like the blockchain explorer was really kind of the door for Space Scan to get to some stuff that is more interesting, or is it because blockchain explorers are kind of a limited, I don't know, use case? Like
Yeah.
visualization is really important, but like I know you guys did tax reporting and did a whole
Mhm.
bunch of other newer
So
things.
yeah, so that is because of the necessary. Like, I don't want to keep everything in space can, but we have reached a space sometimes before. We need some revenue coming in, right? Ad is there, but it is not helping the hosting side of it. So that all this external to other tools outside that Explorer scope is built in space can only in search of revenue to sustain the space can. I don't want to see that in space can. That's why like these xch.live or xch.ai, which is going to come, which we are working on, and few other solutions what we are working on, is going to take all these out into its separate scope because it's getting harder to maintain under space can code base. And we wanted to keep space can as an explorer, and that way it can, because the all the functionalities which is needed for a space can or a explorer, it's already there in space can, but it is stepping into other outside scope, which I don't want it to see it there. And earlier splitting this in moving into a separate app is going to time consuming and costly, but now with this all these things, that's what I'm slowly moving into it. And I want to have space can as a number one explorer where it can cover most of the use cases of a explorer perspective, like where you can explore any blocks, transactions, or the events or tokens, NFTs, all different assets, all the metrics around it. That will be there in SpaceCan. But
I
we
see. So
want,
you're actually thinking about a different direction for this. Space Scan may even shrink in its code base a little bit because you
yes,
want it laser focused on being the best blockchain explorer it can
yes,
possibly be.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly, because that's where it's maintainable in the cost wise also. And then it's once it's reached its maturity level, we don't want to go and touch the code base every time, and it'll create instability in it. So we will move.
Well, no, there's a question I'm kind of curious about. So, with a code base like SpaceScan that was largely not developed with AI, is
Mhm.
it the kind of thing where you can load it up and ask the AI, "Hey, go in and simplify this entire code base and make it better"? Is it as
Yeah,
simple as that to just say,
yeah.
take it down a refactoring path and make this thing better than it was?
No, so space can we are doing that only. So with the space can, like a small areas, we have started doing it. But for that, we need to put a cursor rules there, like okay, follow these styles, and this is what you need to allow to do it or not to do it, and then follow the existing style guide or the coding style. So those rules will limit it, and then we will start asking it to work on small functionalities. Yeah, we started using AI also in space can, and team is actually, two developers, they are actively working on space can, making bug fixes, still working on the tax products side, the ability to classifying different transactions tags. And still there are a lot of developments happening on the tax side because it's so challenging to understand all the liquidities, the debate swaps, all the trades happens, and bring out the cost basis and everything. So still a lot of developments happening on that side. It's inside the space can code base, so it needs to still follow the same style guide and the coding styles and everything that we we put the guardrail for the AI, and team is using that. Yeah. They're not manually coding anymore in my team, even in coding space can.
Sabari, you mentioned the tax coding, and I was taking a look at SpaceScan earlier and just wondering, um, how you can scale out or build a product that is attractive, marketable to a
Mm.
large member of the community. I really like the idea of adding or moving into an application,
Mm.
um, and also bringing visualizations into blockchain transactions. I think that's attractive, but especially the tax side of it. How what's your experience been with making I don't know, making money or making it pay
Mm.
for itself?
It's painful. Making money in here with the tax tool is painful. The reason is like we have a coin set model, so we for a user who has like mostly pro users are ready to pay, but pro users always comes with a derivation index of in couple of thousands, and that means we have to go through all the transactions, understand it, and all not only the standard transactions, all the token transactions, and then we need to understand all the trades happens. So one thing what we did is like we did a third rewrite of the space can parser engine. So now all the trades happens, everything is parsed, even the past trades from the block we will get all the information, so we don't depend on like a splash or a dexy api or any apis. So if you go to like see any tokens or trades, we parse everything from the chain. So because that's what the truth is, because what is done in a block is the truth. We need to parse it and get that into a structure, and then calculate the cost basis and the and the gain on it is the hardest part, because you may have a 1 xch traded for one space bucks, and that 1 xch is being made up of 10.1 xch collected in different time. So you need to get the cost basis of when you received all these zero point 0.1 xchs, and then when you trade that for spx, and then what is the cost at that time, so how much you gained it, right? So all these things, it's very difficult. If you are just thinking of having a tax transaction, a tax tool which calculates xch or a token in and out, it's pretty simple. We have done it last year itself, but I was not satisfied with that because it's not clear, it's not I would say like it's not correct. So we need to bring in all the trades happening, and even a liquidity. So a lot of community feed members tried our tools and they have said like, okay, it is missing out when they give a liquidity to debate swap and others. It is calculating things in different way. So we are still working on some of these edge cases. So, but it's very hard with the computation involved, and the if you charge it for like a $30 or a $50, they feel it's higher, right? So that's why it's still not profitable, or not profitable. It's not even covering the cost. But the coin set model is really making it hard to bring all these edge cases. So we are now thinking of, do we need to limit the tool scope to xch and token in and out, maybe a higher level single sided trades instead of multi-sided trades and all these edge cases, and that way we can keep the cost low. And that's what we are thinking of it on the tax side. I want to really bring this out. And xch live is another thing. We can see the cost is just like a $12 for a year, even though we have a monitoring service in that.
I wonder
Yeah.
I wonder if for the tax thing, just not skate away from that for a second. Do you think with what's being launched with respect to Permuto and the appreciation certificates and the deposit certificates that this sort of a thing would have more of a demand on tax reporting
Yeah.
because there will be more people doing this sort of activity? Do you think that that's maybe where that particular tool is going to be more heavily asked for?
Yes. Yeah. I expect more people involved with like real world assets like RWA. That's where they have to go and do a reporting, right? And now general cats are not that much worth, like small cats, because our ecosystem is so small. We are not dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars of tokens, right? So usually that like a dust transactions, it's fine. But what I see in another few years, more RWA will come in, like Soul Slot and or all these Bermuda Capital things. That's where when people interact with it, they are touching some entity which is have a legal consequence. So they have to go on have some tax reporting tool which is accurate and which helps them to do it. So that's where I'm thinking of these tools is going to have more scope and more need. And I see, like, even when we brought in, we made some good amount of money which sustain our infrastructure for a few months. So there is a demand, but building that perfect tool which helps them, for that it's going to take a little time, and we are still working on that.
So you live in the data inside of the Chia blockchain data because you're parsing it, because you're looking at it,
Mm.
because you're doing these tax reporting tools. Do you have a sense of how big the Chia community is, like how it's changed over time? Do you feel like
Mm.
since your experiences with working with the data so much that you kind of have a good idea of how big this Chia ecosystem and community really is?
Yeah, so I cannot put the numbers, but I, from the traffic and the usage, I can say it's always fluctuated, but it is reduced slightly than how we were like few years before. But there is a core group of users who's always there. The constant traffic is always there, and so the core community or the regions are still there. It's not going down anymore, and especially from the last few months, especially this opening up of Bermuda and all these things, it's continuously increasing, I would say. So yeah, that's where it reflects from the developers, or more developers are coming in also, and even we are started building tools, because I see the growth is coming back again on SpaceCam. But if I compared with 4 5, or like before the main net at that time, no, it's definitely not that of attention on the traffic, but it's definitely growing compared to previous years.
I think all of Web3 went through a little bit of this because there was that furor in the Ethereum, ecosystem around NFTs and whatever, and that all just is like seems gone now. It's shifted into this maybe meme tokens on Solana, but then
Mm.
how long is that really going to last? I think the area that we have to be moving into is where blockchain and blockchain technology starts to be used for solving real world problems, which I think
Exactly.
is really what Chia is starting to make definite moves towards.
Yeah, exactly. Because this RWA is a one thing, like even 4 5 years before, there is a paper from TCS, it's a Tata consultancy. So I've been going through this RWA at the time, and I see everything is lining up with Chia, like what they've been working on in that. So in the enterprise side, it is pretty much they've been waiting for a solution of somebody bring a stable or better blockchain, which is not scammy, which is not like a cult like feeling, but it's a pure technical and a support, like what Gene used to put, right, at a Red Hat model. So somebody is there behind that blockchain, giving them a 24/7 support, and be there to help or train the team on it, and build a solution if they want to have it. So that gap is there for quite some time. So like I've been working with a lot of companies like TCS, Accentures, Infosys. So these are the consulting side. They have a separate wing of enabling the customers on the RWA, but they don't have a good tool set like like a Chia, right? So they proposed a private blockchains, they proposed a public blockchains, but nothing scaled up. Ethereum did not scale up because of the cost on the gas side. Private blockchains, the customers don't want to put it on a private blockchain, and the cost is higher. So there are a lot of roadblocks for the past few years. But Chia is the one thing which I see has all the thing in place. They have a dedicated team, true enterprise support, or they know how to deal with enterprises, and they want to go in legal side, and they have a non-scammy or a non-bug chain as of now. So there are a lot of things Chia has doing well and good on the enterprise side. I see if they play their cards very good, in few years there will be a real world adoption on Chia. Not like, and yeah, I love tokens, NFTs. That's why even I started building NFTs and token things and all. But these are all needed for the retail users to keep the chain alive, or in the view of the retail users or the crypto communities. But the real adoptions or the real change of blockchain comes chains like Chia, where they know the problem, work with the peoples, and bring a real adoption.
Sabari, I think your experience with Burst also gives you some good some good insight to the benefits of Chia with regards to CNI, and I'm glad to hear that you um, that you have such a long view with regards to the blockchain explorer and the data behind the chain and to where that can go in the future. We are closing up on the hour. You mentioned something in when you were talking about yourself earlier that caught my eye because I used to love to travel. You said you're a digital nomad that moves around the world every 3 years. Can you, and you said you lived in Argentina.
Mhm.
Uh, other fun places that you've lived, and where are you? How do you make that selection, and where are you headed in the future?
So it's basically my IT career. When after my college, I said I don't want to be. I want out of my hometown, because till my college I've been with my parents and that's how it is. But I want to get out. So after my college for my job, I started moving. I moved to a different province for some time, and then I traveled in India. Then after that, I wanted to see the world. So then I moved to Japan for a few years, and then afterwards I moved to Argentina for 3 years, and US I was there for 3 years. Now I came to Canada, but in Canada when I came, it's COVID, so I couldn't keep the 3 years timeline. It stretched more than 3 year, because COVID really took a few years out of my traveling time. Yeah, I hope probably like next I can go to Europe. That's where I'm planning to go. Yeah, so IT helps me because all I need is a laptop, so I can go and work anywhere. Yeah, that's how I could able to manage it, traveling it. But same thing, I don't want to go and visit a place just for a few weeks, a month. I don't like it. I want to be there, travel. Mostly I hike. I be with the locals, like spend time, right? So there is a proverb in my hometown, like if somebody knows 8 languages, they have like 8 life. So that what it means, like if you know a language, you know the culture of it and the people. So you to know that you have to bond it, like you have to live with them. So that's what I took it, like I want to travel around it. So the South America I were there, like Argentina, that end I've been there. Now in Canada, the other end of it, North America end I've been there. So I'm living here. So probably like Europe is pending, Africa is pending. Yeah, and then I'll go back.
Lots of, I think you're 100% right. To really get to know a place, it's fun to spend some time there, and I like languages too. Of course, you guys are developers, so y'all know more than just our languages for communication. But Sabari, great to have you on today. Anything else that you want to share with us before we close it out?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks a lot for having this, and how to thank all the Chia community being there with us for all these years. A lot of ups and downs. A lot of time I wanted to close down Space Can, and that community is always there to give us, donate us, and keeping these things alive. Even we are not making money, but they gave enough to support us to live on this one, on for my teams also. And we've been started building a good tools like xch.live. Next we are working on xch.ai, so bringing more insights into Chia blockchains. We can visually see how it is, but it is going to be a little longer. And we are building few more tools with this AI, kind of like a vibe coding. So expect more things from us, and always join in our community or a Discord. And if you have any feedback, suggestions, if you're not doing well in any areas, please suggest us, and we're always there to help you, help the community. Yeah. Thanks, Lucas. That's all I have.
Glad to have you on, and we'll touch back in with you in the future to see what else you've been built. So, Grant, I don't know if you have anything else, but I enjoyed it today. I like listening to you developers dig into what goes on under the hood.
No, it was a lot of fun. We'll see you next time on FOMO.
Yep.